Now it's time for our next session. Thank you, Ashley. And we're going to have Ileana Montauk join us. She is the CEO of Manara, and she will be speaking today in a fireside chat. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ileana, and I'm the founder of Manara. I'm going to be sharing with you guys what it's like to be a woman engineer in places like Gaza and how important it is to receive mentorship during that journey from Gaza to Google. And I am joined by Dima. Dima, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Dima Zaidalkilani. I'm a director of product management at GitHub, and I'm excited to be joining Ileana to talk about my experience and how I started my career and throughout, and how I've been a mentor and a mentee and how it's impacted my career.
Do you want to go first, maybe, Dima, by sharing your own personal experience as a mentee?
Sure. I started as a product manager at Microsoft, and it was straight out of college or university in my home country in Palestine. And the first stage I got to be a mentee was, at the time, it was my boyfriend, then my husband now, who helped mentor me through the experience of getting the right resources, to knowing how to navigate, how to train for interviews, and what resources I needed. He was studying computer science at University of Washington. I was studying at a local university in Palestine. So I did not have as many resources. I did not have access to career fairs that he got access to. So when I passed the initial interview with Microsoft, he shared all the links with me and guided me through what it's going to be like for interviewing. And spoiler alert, I got accepted at Microsoft and have been working as a PM at Microsoft and now GitHub. So that was the first step. The second step of being a mentee was when I joined, it was just like a shell shock of everything was different. It was a new culture, new acronyms, and corporate related concepts and all. And I was fortunate to have a peer mentor who was on the same team assigned to me. And he helped me throughout understanding all of the difficulties. I felt like I always had an ally in the room, kind of talking about what we were going through. Of course, the imposter syndrome was kicking in hard in the first few months, and it never goes away, but it was really aggressive in the first few months. Like, what am I doing here? Am I equal to the other people in the room? But he was always there as an ally, keeping me grounded, rooted, to understand, like, I do belong there. I have a lot to offer. It was just the lingo that I needed to get, the agile practices that we needed to understand. So from both those experiences, I felt like I made a promise to myself. Whatever experience I had 6 months into the job, doesn't matter. I'm gonna give back to either people around me, newcomers to the company, interns, or even cross borders in different parts.
How often did you need mentorship at that beginning stage when imposter syndrome was especially strong, when you had just arrived from Palestine to Microsoft?
Always, every day. We used to have, like, I used to write a list of the questions. My manager at the time was great also at mentoring, where between him and my mentor, I would have many, many questions, and I would go and the way it mattered, it's only 30 minutes from a mentee's perspective, from a mentor's perspective. But those 30 minutes, the fact that they were there, they answered my questions, made me excited to bring more. And I didn't take that for granted. I appreciated their time. I wanted to make sure that I've used it, but it helped a lot, because you feel like once we're on the same level, we understand the lingo, and now your creativity gets to kick in as a mentee. And then you feel like, oh, I have a lot to offer to the table, just like everyone else. And it was just great in helping with that.
I know we're going to talk later. I would like to talk later about your experience now that you're a leader in the product team, mentoring people. But just before we go to that, what you're saying resonated with me so much. I went to Harvard and became a PM later. And, like, of all people, you know, with that background, I feel like I should have been confident. I grew up in Silicon Valley. And still, I felt imposter syndrome the whole first year or two that I was a PM. And I needed someone to almost daily tell me how much they believed in me. And one of the reasons that I started Manara is because Palestine is just full of people like you who are so, so talented. But there's that like last little gap sometimes of getting that first job or then being confident during your first 6 months in that job. So just a little bit of background in Manara and how we engage mentors with Manara. So Manara is a program that helps the top engineers in the Arab region, starting with Palestine, get their dream jobs at global tech companies. And it came out of an experience where I was running a startup accelerator in Gaza, which was funded by Google. Google had done a developer outreach event in Tel Aviv, and then they got invited to do one in the West Bank and then in Gaza. And when they were there, they were just overwhelmed with the amount of talent, how smart people were, how much they were, interested in tech, studying technology, spoke fluent English, but just not connected to jobs. And unemployment, it's like 70% for recent college grads in Gaza, right? It's crazy. And so they launched this program in Gaza, which then I started to run. And I had that same experience of meeting tons of people like Dima, people like my co-founder now, Layla, who were super sharp but didn't necessarily have jobs locally. And so at Manara, we've been helping both women and men, but with a really strong focus on women, first just even dream of getting a job at a place like Google, because that part is really important step. People don't realize that they could get a job at a company like Google. They think that that's only for people who are brilliant, and they don't realize that they are. And so the way that we kind of tackle that imposter syndrome, which at the time I didn't even know the term imposter syndrome, and I didn't even realize that's what we were tackling, is by bringing people like Dima or like my co-founder Layla, who became a senior software engineer at NVIDIA, to them, and just doing even calls like this over Zoom, or even better, people who are not even from the Arab world working at these companies, and just meeting with them one-on-one or in groups, and they realize coming out of those, whether it's a training session or a mentorship session or whatever, they go, oh, this person's actually not that different from me. I guess I could work here. And from there, Manara involves volunteers from tech companies around the world to teach these participants how to interview, because interviewing is a specific skill. And Dima, I don't know how you did it, but I know that for our participants, they have all the talent and tech, background that they need for the job. They're graduating with computer science degrees. They're already engaged in competitive programming competitions globally. But what they don't have is how to interview, and especially at companies like Google, Facebook, there's that very specific data structures and algorithms interview, which they're totally unprepared for. And so we teach them how to do that, and we engage people from the tech sector globally to do mock interviews with them. And it's by doing these mock interviews that they then are ready, and by the time they end up at Google, we recently had actually a 71% referral to hire rate at Google, thanks to that. And one of our participants, Dalia, she's a 19-year-old from Gaza. She now has an internship at Google lined up for this summer. And we were just talking to her last week, and she was like, look, there's no way I could have done this without these mentors. Because not only were the mentors doing mock interviews with her, I think the women mentors took a special interest in her because she's a woman, and kind of gave her extra like the consistency of meeting with the same person every week and getting tips. And often what I've noticed is that the women mentors in our network have a different approach than the men, and they think more like our women participants. And so they'll be like, oh, this is how I do it. Oh yes, don't worry, it's normal to feel nervous talking out loud in an interview. So just write on a piece of paper for 1 minute first and then start talking. And those kinds of tips end up really helping our participants be successful. So that's what we're up to, and why it's so important for us to have a network of mentors. And I'm curious, Dima, now that you've had a chance being on the other side, what is that experience like?
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much for sharing. It's such an inspiring story about how you and Layla have been working on Manara, and it's been great watching the journey. For me, I've been trying to, as I said, seeing how much it impacted me, like starting with mentoring me through the interview, getting the job, to actually being in the company, and then seeing how mentorship really impacted me and my confidence in the first 6 months. I wanted to give back, not just in the company or locally, but also in different countries. So I signed up to be a mentor with Tech Women. And funny enough, I learned about Tech Women when I was still a senior student in the university. And I saw how it actually, let me tell you what Tech Women is. Tech Women is a program that brings women from different countries, like in the Middle East, in Africa, Southeast Asia, South Asia, to go and experience being in tech companies in the Bay Area for 5 to 6 weeks. And they get a chance to have an internship in some of the companies in the Silicon Valley. So I saw it as the participant that went there and came back were creating programs to engage more girls to get into coding and back in Palestine. Also other opportunities to give back to local community. So what Tech Women focuses on is to empower women to be leaders in STEM opportunities in their communities. So I wanted to be part of it, but at the time it required industry experience. So, and then fast forward, I was a PM at Microsoft, and I really wanted to give back and mentor in Tech Women. So I've been doing that for 3 years, and it's been such an amazing experience to learn from these amazing women who are sometimes product managers in companies in Palestine, Lebanon, or different countries. But also you learn a lot how common the challenges we're facing at work. And it's been really great, the opportunity to mentor these women, and knowing that they will go back to their home countries and give back to the communities, and then they can inspire more women to be in tech and start the cycle all over again. So I've been mentoring there for 3 years now, and it's been a great opportunities to meet women from different countries I haven't gotten a chance to learn about. But locally within the industry, I've also been trying as much as I can to ensure I'm spending at least an hour or 30 minutes even every week to mentor other product managers, other interns within the industry. And if anybody is on the fence about mentorship, I feel like there are a few things I wanted to mention. I understand that the experience is different for different folks. Time for maybe women in the industry could be different. Having different, we already know that this is already a challenge, but this is my own experience, and I encourage people or the audience to kind of tailor it to how it suits, depending on the time they have and depending on the opportunities they have. So first of all, as I've been working in tech for a while, I've been thinking of what is the sense of purpose there. We get too stuck in the different releases, different sprints, having this to build this feature or this this product. It just at the end of the day, I feel sometimes I did not have the sense of purpose of what am I doing? And at some point at the beginning, I actually debated leaving tech into some other industry because I wasn't feeling that fulfillment until I started mentoring. And it just makes me happier that whatever goes wrong, whatever happened that week, I know at least within this 30 minutes, I was able to do something and impact someone's day, even just that for an hour, feel listened and trying to coach them. So definitely, I feel like mentorship is giving the sense of purpose that a lot of us in tech lack. The other one is it helped me pave my path to management. So the more I was mentoring, the more it becomes natural to you to be a leader, to be a coach rather than an instructor. So when you're mentoring, you cannot just tell people like, oh, this is the situation you're going into, here's how I would fix it. It's more of, let's talk through it. Let's understand the challenges. Here's how I would think about it and kind of get to the resolution at the same time. So it's helped a lot in growing this muscle of coaching and leadership that helped me get to management probably sooner than it would have if I were not a mentor. And finally, self-confidence. We talked a lot about imposter syndrome, but it gives you that sense of validation that when your mentee or the person you're chatting with talking about a problem, and that it comes natural to you, like, oh, I know how to fix this. Oh, look, this is how far I've become. 2 years ago, this was like the dilemma of my week. So just chatting with them about it gives you the sense that I've come so far, and it can ease down the imposter syndrome, that because it reminds you of the things you've accomplished, the fact that maybe in the first 6 months or 1 year, getting interrupted at a meeting was the worst thing that could have happened, that shook your confidence. And now when you hear it, it's like, oh, I understand, I empathize. Here's how I think about it, and here's what we could do about it. So all through all, it's just have been rewarding, and makes you just, whatever goes wrong that week or that month, at least you got a chance to impact someone and help them, regardless at what level in the career it is, whether it's an intern, whether it's a new industry hire or new college. This 30 minutes for you could seem like I have to squeeze it in between this executive briefing and this conversation with our CTO or whatever, but it's really important because it has impact. Like you said, Ileana, it has impact not just for the person. It's like that person will one day want to give back, and then could trickle down to a lot of great things that we can have in the community.
Yeah, it's definitely creating a flywheel effect. We already see that the Manara candidates who have gone to Google are coming back and mentoring the next candidates on how to get in and how to be successful there. I know we only have a few minutes left. I don't see anything in the Q&A, so I did just want to respond to some comments in the chat. One is, so glad to hear you guys are helping people around the world. And I just want to be clear, like, yes, this is helping them, and that's so, so important. And it's also helping these tech companies, right? Like, when you're making the case at your company to make time for this, don't just position it as a social impact initiative. Like, tell them, we need the best talent at our company. And the Manara volunteers who are, interviewing or mentoring women from Gaza or other parts of the Middle East are spotting the best talent early, and then they're recruiting them into their companies. And companies are more successful when they're diverse, and women have the most powerful soft skills that are going to rule the world, and the tech skills as well, right? So that's one important thing. And then also, mentorship doesn't have to take a long time. So, like, yes, if you're in a company, 30 minutes a week is, or 30 minutes a day is really valuable if you can do that. But you can find other opportunities, like in Manara, you can show up and just do one mock interview per month, and that already is making a difference, and you'll find out later if that person got into the company or not. I do see a few quick questions, so I'll go ahead and start answering them. Some of the top tech universities in Gaza, there's Islamic University, there's UCAS, there's University of Palestine. There's like at least 6 universities in Gaza and the West Bank, which is also, Palestine is 2 pieces. There's Bir Zayt, there's Najah, etc. And then how do you go about mentorship relationships? Is it formal or informal? I'll let Dima speak to tech women, but I think it's basically formal in both cases. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it depends definitely on where it is. I would say if it was within the same team, I would try to make it a bit formal, talk to the manager if you share the same manager to make sure that whatever guidance you're giving is aligned with the management. So it can be informal, of course, like it could be over coffee or Zoom or tea every once in a while. So it depends how it is. Is it a long term, like you've been mentoring someone, or you want to mentor someone over 2 years, or short term over a project? So it definitely, my advice is if you want it to be formal or you're closer to them working on the same project, definitely discuss it with the manager, just so that we make sure that it's kind of like you're giving the same direction. And if it's informal, there's no need to discuss it, but making sure that you have conversation about career goals and challenges.
And I saw you were responding to a question on the chat about how to get involved as a mentor if you're brand new in a company organization. One thing to do is to join external organizations that need your mentorship. Mentor someone from a different country that might really benefit from your perspective of recently getting in. Mentor people who were recently at your college, university, about how to make the leap that you just made. Those are just a few ideas, and I know we're at time, but maybe Dima has one more thought to add.
I just typed my answer, so hopefully.
Okay.
But definitely interns is the biggest source, and reaching out sometimes to HR to know if there's any internal ERGs that you can join within the company to know what connections you could have. And but it's amazing that you're already new at the company and reaching out to know this. So kudos to you for sure.
Yeah. How are we on time, Angie? I have to run. Yeah, Sukruta, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Ileana and Dima. This was amazing. We saw some great comments in the chat, appreciating all the information they learned from you.